Hello, world. This is Barbie Lee. This is Shake Talk. And have you ever wanted a do-over? Like, seriously, they call them mulligans in golf, right? And, maybe I don't know anything else. I just know, it's a do-over, right? It's kind of like, oh, I didn't like what came out of my mouth, or, oh, I don't like how that, conversation went, or, oh, I don't like how that outcome was, right? So have you ever wanted a do-over? Okay, so today's question is, have you ever wanted a do-over? And the odds are you've wanted a do-over at some point in your life. And maybe every day. Sometimes maybe you wake up in the morning and go, dang, I need a do-over from yesterday. So I was thinking about that this morning. And I was thinking about because so much, I don't know, let's just call it stuff, right? Unprecedented stuff in the Western world, at least, right, has come down. And I'm like, man, because people are like, 2020 needs a reboot and, stuff like that. And, sometimes, when your phone isn't working properly, you just turn it off and on and hopefully it works properly, or your computer, or, So my question on this glorious day is, have you ever wanted a do-over? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is Barbie Lee. This is Shake Talk. I am Barbie Lee. This is Shake Talk. This is my Isagenix Isoline Shake. And this is where we just have a conversation about the musings that are going on in my head. And today is about, have you ever wanted a do-over? And I know we all have at some point. Like, there's no one I've never met. I've never met anybody who said, my life is exactly perfect. I've always done everything exactly the way I wanted and nothing is ever wrong. I've never met anybody who said that or has done that. We've all went, oy vey, what have I done? So on social media lately, we know what's going on here with the pandemic. And not that it's becoming acceptable, it's becoming daily news, right? So then when something happens every single day, is it still news? And that's kind of a bothersome thing. And that's a whole other conversation, is we don't want to let it disappear into, oh, that's just the way it is, right? So making sure we're still on top of things. But I've also been seeing, here we are into, August 10th today in 2020. And so we're months into this pandemic. Anyhow, so we're halfway into August, or a third of the way into August. And a lot of people on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, I'm seeing all kinds of ads for a fresh start, for September. And typically, September is a, begin again kind of time of the year, right? Because kids go back to school, maybe people are parents and not, but parents too, might start classes, and because we tend to take the summer off a little bit and kind of slide and, take our weekends. But then a lot of times people jump back into their goals come September. So there's all kinds of things on social media right now talking about reset, 9-day reset, 11-day reset. Let's do a fall cleanse together, right? Oh my goodness, I saw one the other day. Man, I was like, don't do that to your body. Anyway, but all these kind of people are, hey, join my Facebook group for this, and hey, join my Facebook group for that. And I just got to shake my head, because I look at these and I go, why don't you just live a life constantly, every day, that sets you up for success for the next day, and the next day, and the next year, and the next 10 years, and the next 20 years? Like why don't we just live that way? Why do we let things slide so terribly that we feel we need to reset in the next 9 days, or we need to reset, I'm like, when do you just take responsibility for your life every single day? Like, that's a powerful question. So there was the news the other day, and somebody fell for one of those scams that came across. They called her, it's on the news, ctv.ca, I saw it. They called her up and, said her social insurance number has been compromised, and, somebody's opened multiple bank accounts in her name, and it's, drug trafficking and money laundering and illegal activities, and, they had her call the police, or They had her look up the number for the local police station and make sure it was the one they had. And then all of a sudden her phone rings, like she's on, and the phone rings and it's the police who, and I quote, and this is what she said, they told me to lie to my bank, take out all my money, and go put it in this Bitcoin machine. And I'm like, and you really thought the police called you and told you to lie to your bank? Because this is the way they're going to catch the bad guys, is by lying to your bank. She took out $15,000 and gave it to some machine. I don't even know what. I don't even know what Bitcoin machines are. Like, the scammers must have placed something somewhere for her to use. I have no idea. Anyway, the point being is, how do you get to that thinking? Like, is your life so, like, have you never watched a movie about scammers? You know, have you never been on social media hearing about all these scammers, right? That you would and say to you, go take all your money out of the bank, lie to your bank, don't tell anybody, because it could be somebody in your family that's doing this. Like, really? Like, what kind of world do you surround, like, what kind of people do you surround yourself with that is like, oh, okay, you know? And I was, like, literally having a conversation, like, seriously having a conversation with Dwayne, and I said, how does that happen in one's thinking? And I said, the only thing I can think of is they are so, and I use the term brainwashed, but understand my terminology. They have been told, and they've never made a decision to think for themselves. Do this, okay, do this, okay, do this, okay, do this, okay, right? That's the only thing, because I'm thinking, even my grandmother, okay, even when she was like, so she died at 93, if someone would have called her at 91, first of all, she'd have said, it's my money. Well, if the police have a problem, you come and talk to me in person. And she'd have hung up the phone on them, right? So my grandmother at 90, no education, right? Watches some Bible channel. You know, that's her, the Jeopardy, because she thinks it's going to make her smarter. And the Bible channel where they just read the Bible to her all day and people, you know, prayed and everything. Oh, go and take out all your money and lie to your bank. So I really got, seriously, like fell for that. And I'm like, I bet you she wants to go back to the beginning of that call and just go, sorry, bye-bye, and hang up on them, you know? So I don't think there's nothing she can do. She's out 15 grand, right? So do you need a do-over, right? What's going on in your world that you need a do-over? And I'm not calling it, and I'm just calling it a do-over, right? Now, we can't go back and change our past. We can go back and we can change how we feel about our past. We can change the story that we tell ourselves about the past. I remember growing up thinking my dad was a SOB, right? My mother told me very clearly that my dad was an SOB. So that's what I believed. And anytime he tried to show up in my world, he would do things that would prove to me how much of a son of a bitch he was. And that was just how I grew up. And then as I realized, so after he passed and everything, and we never had a relationship, blah, 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 and it was like still bothering me. And I was like, oh, you know, my dad, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, why am I still angry? The dude's dead. Like, he didn't do half the things I think he did, you know, because it's all in my head. So I changed the story of how I dealt with memories of my dad. So I have a father, right? He donated some sperm to my mom. I'm sure they had a lot of fun doing it. I came along. He decided he didn't want to be a dad to me. Great, right? Not from my definition of, you know, somebody who's there and teaches you how to ride a bike and all that. He wasn't like that. Okay, so am I going to be upset and hurt and all that? No, I thought about it differently. And now I'm like, you know what? He probably did the best that he could. That's all he could think of. I'm sure he didn't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to see how I can screw over my daughter, Barbie Lee. Like, I'm sure he didn't do that, right? So I can't change my past, but I can change how I think about my past and how I feel about my past. And that's what a do-over is about. It's about looking back and taking note and taking stock of what happened and then going, that line of thinking, so in this case with my dad, that line of thinking put me in a place of, I don't like that kind of thinking. I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't like how my face gets all scrunchy when I think about it, because I'm like, oh my God, you know? So I'm like, I needed to come up with a different way to think about it. And this is what I'm asking of people right now is, do you need a do-over? And where in your life do you need to accept your past as it was and go, okay, so now what? That's one of my favorite questions. So now what? Don't just, sit there and whine and complain and blame and shame. My question is always, so now what? What are you going to do about it? Right? If you don't like the way that something's going on, you don't like the results, well, you need to change them. Well, how can you change them? Well, you need to change your thinking. So the thinking comes from the do-over. The do-over comes from the thinking. Meaning that, okay, so I'll give you an example. I made a really, at the time it seemed really nice, but in hindsight, it wasn't a very good investment decision, okay? I invested in something when it was a good plan, but I invested in the wrong piece of it, in the sense that I did some real estate investment in a company as opposed to the land or the buildings that they were doing. And when the company went under, so did my money. But if I would have insisted that my name is on title on some of the properties, I may have, received some of my money back. So the investment itself was a good idea because it was somebody buying and flipping houses and such. But I invested in their company not knowing enough that I should have invested in the titles. Okay? So I made a mistake, right? Cost me 75 grand. Great, big deal. It's just money. At first I was like, oh my God, and then I'm like, well, I made a mistake. Live and learn, right? Don't do that again. The next time you invest in something, really check it out. Really make sure you know what your ownership is and stuff, right? So that's just the way it's different now because I have to learn from that. So I get a do-over, right? Because it means I'm not ever going to invest again. I just recently invested like last year. So it was a do-over so that I can now look back on that experience and go, okay, I didn't like how it happened, so this is what I'm going to do. So now what? Now what? So now I made an investment, and I feel better about it. And if this one goes, poorly, it doesn't give me what I think it should, then I'll have to learn how to, do it a different way, right? Or maybe get some advice from other people or, whatever it is. I get to look at things and how I want to look at things. So that's the do-over, right? So if you've been watching me for a while or listening to me for a while, you know that I have these 5 areas that I really focus on, right? Food, finance, fitness, faith, and fun, the new F words as I call them. So think about where you need a do-over. And Dwayne and I were like, okay, you know what? We said yesterday, it's August 10th, for what we want to do with our lives. I'm like, we've got 10 weeks. We've got to make some serious progress in 10 weeks. And my mind started to go, oh, I really should have. And I'm like, no, I can't think that way. I have to say, okay, so now what? So now what? Well, I'm going to, I'm looking at what I'm moving forward with, how I'm moving forward, who I'm moving forward with, right? My business partners, my friendships, all that kind of stuff. And it's a constant process because I want the next 10 years of my life to be better than the last 10 years of my life. Now, I'm not saying the last 10 years were bad. I just want it to be better, right? I love the life that Dwayne and I have created with the girls and, what we've given them and all that. But now it's our turn, and I was like, oh, now, we really need to focus on us and blah, blah. And I have my things around that. So in the areas of food, finance, fitness, faith, and fun. So we look at everything and I'm like, okay, I love my Isagenix. So that covers a couple of them, right? The food and the finances, right? And the fitness, well, we've been doing, we always sign up for the IsaBody Challenge, so that's really good. And, we get the $200 from that, so that adds to our finances, and there's all kinds of things that are going on. I'm just going to challenge you to look, and where do you want to do over? We can't actually get a do-over where we get to, like in pickleball, we say, go ahead, reserve, right? Nobody saw what happened, reserve. That's kind of like a do-over. In golf, right? It's called a mulligan, or you take another lesser shot, or I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a do-over, right? So I don't play golf, can you tell? So where do you want to do over? Now I'm going to suggest something. I'm going to suggest creating a life that you don't require a lot of do-overs from. Creating a life every single day. Living your life every single day, knowing that you have a plan for the future, knowing that you're working, you're progressing towards your worthy ideal, in the words of Bob Proctor, and really living a life that you don't need a vacation from. You know, it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't wait for the weekend. Work has been so rough this week, blah, blah, blah. And I said, is that like pretty normal for you on a Friday where you're like, oh, you can't wait for the weekend? And he goes, yeah, pretty much. He goes, I work really hard during the week. I said, do you enjoy your work? He goes, well, it's a job, it pays the bills. And like, he's not really living his life. You know, he's telling me he's not really living his life. He's working a job that is okay, but it's not fulfilling him. It's not giving him a sense of significance or anything. It's kind of paying the bills, getting things done. So then on the weekend, he can relax and, you know, play golf or whatever he likes to do. And I said, is that how you want to live? Oh, I'll just do that until I retire. He's like, maybe 55, 56. So I'm like, what is that, another 10 years? He goes, yeah, it'll be fine. And I'm like, really? You want to live that way for another 10 years? He goes, why not? That's what people do. I said, no. I said, it is what people do, but you don't have to. Like there's other ways, like, you know, I have a new friend that, you know, they were planning, him and his wife, that they were going to do things when they retired, and she got cancer and died, and now he's retired without her. And they never got to do anything in their life, you know? So I'm just going to challenge you. Really take a look at where you are, what your life is doing, where things are going, how they're going, and just go, like, do I need to do over? You know, or do I need to start again? Or do I really need to take a serious look at my food, my finances, my fitness, my faith, my fun, and then go, what do I want that to look like? Now, this one I said on Facebook, right? Somebody had this, you know, oh, we're going to do a big old cleanse, and here's the stuff that you need. And they're doing the master cleanse, and if you look that up, you go, oh, why would you do that with all the new food technology that's out there? My God, Isagenix has a really gentle cleanse that is a cellular cleanse, you know. It doesn't just attack one area of your body. It just actually lightly flushes out everything in your body. And there's a bunch of people, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to reset. And I was like, why aren't you living life that you don't need to escape from? You know, why isn't your life in this everyday bliss and beauty? And if it's not, you're like, well, stop making up excuses and start deciding to make it better. Stop making excuses and start deciding to make it better. That's it. Right? Every single day, make it better than yesterday. Do one little thing, right? Start eating better. Drink a little more water. Take a few more extra steps. Don't turn on the news, right? Don't scroll through social media and jump into arguments that are not yours, right? There's all kinds of things you can do to make your life just a little bit better. I know 14 years ago when I started Isagenix, I didn't know. I started with my food. Oh, I said, okay, let me show you what I'm doing. That's what I did. And then I started to make some money. I'm like, oh, I can help other people make money. And then after a few years, it was not a quick fix for me in the sense of, you know, oh, everything turned around so brilliantly, and then I had all this energy, and, you know, well, the energy came, but like the idea like about wanting to work out or do any sort of exercise, I didn't want to do that, right? And in this process, so it took me quite a few years to get my fitness into all that. And through that same process, you know, I was all about finding out who I am and what did I believe and what part of the world did I want to connect myself with, in the sense of understanding this bigger world as a whole. And of course, I've always been about fun, so that's always been, and sometimes too much fun, and that's probably why, I put on some extra pounds and whatever. So this is about looking at your entire life, looking at who you are, what are you eating, how are you spending your money, how are you earning your money, that's a big one, how are you staying fit physically, mentally, financially, what do you believe, who are you following, who are you listening to, and how much fun are you having in this world every single day. I'm not talking about just waiting for the weekends. So that's it. That's your do-over, is waking up in the morning. Every frickin' morning is a do-over. If you opened your eyes, you get a do-over to make it better. Just saying. Have a great day.